The Bug Bugs Podcast!
The quickest way to lose really good people is to be inconsistent with your message, your marketing, and your service.
Most clients are not very good at telling us what differentiates them from a what matters to the customer perspective. But if I ask them to tell me about their technical process across the board, they'll spend up to 8 hours just being able to get into the nitty-gritty about how their business operates and the technical aspects and all that. How can you quantify the thing that you're saying differentiates you?
Yeah.
How can you actually put numbers to the thing that you say you're the best at or that makes you different? And where can you find numbers in the business that empower that messaging? So what we do is then we take all of that data that they've just given us. That now is the Bible for our marketing team to reference anytime that we are creating marketing for them. That is where the differentiation lies.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Bug Bucks Podcast. I'm your host, Allan Draper. Please make sure that you're a member of our Facebook group. Go to Facebook and type in BUGBUX. Find us there. We have over 5,100 PCOs. You have to be a PCO to join the group, and I make you verify. So, but make sure to join us there. Join that conversation. I'm very excited about our guest today, our show today. I love talking about marketing. Today's guest is Andrew Peluso. He's the founder and CEO of Pesty Marketing. He helps pest control companies scale past 7 and 8 figures with targeted SEO, paid ads, and CRO. Andrew's team works with ambitious PCOs doing 1 million or more in revenue who want to dominate their markets and grow 30% more year over year. So welcome to the show, Andrew. Glad to have you, bro.
Thanks for having me, Allan. I appreciate it. Excited to be speaking to the Bug Bucks community.
For sure. So your demographic, you're in that, you like to see that top line revenue of $1 million plus. Tell me what it is about companies that are doing $1 million in revenue, pest control companies specifically, that you love. Like, what is it? Why is that your niche?
So the million is sort of arbitrary. It's really just intended to be a proxy for, does the company know how to sell? Right. And even at $1 million, there are plenty of pest control companies who are still not very good at sales. But the fact that they have people who are available to pick up the phone, to close deals, and that infrastructure to some degree is in place is really important, because we learned the hard way the first couple of years in business that our systems were not well catered to solo operators. At first, we would take on any client who was a pest control company, whether they were a solo operator, a couple vehicles, or larger. And we just found that the clients who were firing us were typically like really small companies. And often it was the case that we'd find out through our call tracking system or form tracking that they just weren't getting back to leads quickly. They were missing calls. They weren't following up multiple times. There were a lot of holes in their sales process. And that's just not something we were prepared to fix or, cater our service to. So that was a big thing. The other thing is that our strategies are much more aggressive than the typical marketing agency, meaning we do some very similar things, but faster and bigger than most agencies do it. And of course, because of that, the investment that we require from clients is a lot larger than typically companies doing less than $1 million per year are capable of investing. So $1 million is just a proxy for, are they a good fit for us?
One thing that I've noticed in the pest control industry, and I think this happens in other industries as well, is there seems to be some uniformity, right? There's a company that has some success and then everybody tries to mimic what they're doing. It could be kind of difficult to differentiate yourself in the marketplace, right? A lot of us have green logos. A lot of people have natural or green or something in their name, eco, and I'm not knocking any of those companies. Proof, we have a green logo. Let's talk about that. I'd love to talk about that today. Let's get into kind of some of the nuances of differentiating yourself in the marketplace as a pest control company.
Yeah. So I think your first question is actually a great lead into this, right? That is one of the ways that we differentiate ourselves, because there are, a handful probably 5 to 10 marketing agencies out there who provide marketing services to pest control companies, but that's kind of where their niching down stops. And what I figured out after realizing who the clients we serve best was that we needed to go even deeper. And so our point of differentiation was that we only work with pest control companies run by ambitious operators who want to grow by 30% year over year or more. And that was really my first experience of finding what I would call like product market fit, which is, for anyone who hasn't heard that term before, where essentially you have solved a big enough problem for a specific market that your company isn't pushing for growth, but rather is getting pulled into growth. I think as a pest control company, if you can find ways to stand out, if you can find ways to speak to a specific type of person and attract that type of person, both, I think when most people think of this too, they think of like demographics or socioeconomic status, and those factors can matter, but also it's about typing into the psychographic of the person, right? So I'll give you an example. Can't remember the pest control company, but they, on their website, a lot of their messaging revolves around flexibility, flexibility, same day service. They're going to make basically everything really easy on you. They give you a heads up when they come out, and they are trying to cater to the likely white collar professional individual who is willing to pay more for someone to work around their schedule. And I think that's a really good job of leaning into one specific kind of messaging that is going to differentiate you from everyone else who is diluting what they do across lots of different messages, and therefore speaking to no one in a way that makes you the obvious choice for that really specific type of person.
I think there's a couple of things at play, especially with startups and with a blue collar industry like pest control, when we're trying to hone in on like who we are, right? One of the issues with early startups is they're just trying to keep the lights on, right? So they're like, who do we service? We service everybody, right? And it's like, I think, at least I've seen this with some of my companies, where you can have a niche without blocking out everybody else.
Totally.
Right? Where it's like, there might be somebody that comes to me that isn't who my target audience is, that, I can help them. So I think that's one of the reasons why people are scared to niche down. They're like, no, we do it all. It's like the lawyer that does, I'll defend your criminal case and do your divorce and I'll write your contracts. And it's like, bro, I don't trust you with anything. But if it's somebody that's like, yeah, I help plaintiffs in breach of contract actions in business to business disputes when one of the parties is a business owner. And it's like, oh, okay. Now that's exactly my case. How do we help people overcome this fear of, man, I don't want to miss that opportunity that's out there?
It's a great question, because this is probably a top 3 problem that every small business owner faces early on. And I think it can come in a couple ways, maybe 3 ways. One is you're going to hear this messaging over and over and over again, which I think is summed up in the saying, the niches are in the riches are in the niches.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I was not humble enough to trust people wiser and much more successful than myself to just hear that and trust that process. So the way I learned was the hard way, which is when you build a business that tries to cater to everyone, you're probably having a very hard time with growth and with growing in a highly profitable way. And so if those are 2 pains that you're feeling, then looking in the direction of, am I focused enough in terms of who I'm serving and what I'm doing, is probably something that one should look at. If you look at that and you go, wow, I actually think that could be the problem. We're doing too much for too many people. Our expenses are too high because we're trying to deal with every edge case. You have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, I know that's the problem. I know that's the thing I need to solve. If I don't solve it, then I'm kind of full of it. Because as a business operator, as a leader of the company, you need to be able to make what feels like the hard decision to take the company in the right direction. And the hard thing here is to say no to a lot more business than you're going to say yes to. Like one of our clients who I think does this really well is Alta Pest Control. You know, they don't do one-time services. They don't do a bunch of different types of like commercial business. Like they are very, very, very focused on serving a specific kind of customer. And they say no a lot more than they say yes. I don't know all their numbers, but I would assume it's one of the things that makes their business probably very much more streamlined and profitable than a lot of their competitors. So yeah, I think it you know, probably for most people, it's about learning the hard way. If you've built a business that's serving too many people, then this is the direction to look and to realize that, you know, you might be causing a lot more problems by saying yes to all this different revenue than by saying no and focusing.
Are you looking for a powerful, natural way to control mosquitoes and ticks? Archon Life Sciences has 2 FIFRA 25B exempt products to solve those problems. Stop the Bites is a proven product for killing mosquitoes and ticks, and their brand new product, Eraditic, is extremely powerful against ticks. Both products have a 21-day recommended retreatment rate, seamlessly fitting into your service routes. Proven effective and trusted in the industry, Archon Life Sciences is your go-to manufacturer for natural pesticides. Ask your local distributor about Stop the Bites and Eraditic from Archon, and follow Archon Life Sciences on LinkedIn. Oh, and keep an eye on Archon as they continue to develop more eco-friendly products.
I think there's a lot of different ways to mix things up in the marketing world and take different directions and differentiate yourself in the marketplace than people realize. And you mentioned this. You mentioned, hey, people focus a lot on demographic, and you just brought up an example of one, like, hey, residential pest control services, you know, high income individuals, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But let's list some. So I'll kind of start here. Let's list some ways that we can differentiate ourselves. We can differentiate ourselves. Like if I say Chick-fil-A, it's like, okay, this brand comes, right? This brand of like, one day I was in a Culver's line and right next to it is a Chick-fil-A, and how we were being treated in the Culver's line, or maybe it was Taco Bell, I don't know. But it was way different. We look across, and I was talking to my wife, and it's like, how do they get those people, right? Like, is it hiring? Is it training? Is it, you know, is it pay? And so there's all these ways we can differentiate ourselves that doesn't have anything to do with our service, right? And it's like, well, how can that be? And I'm not saying you shouldn't based off of your service, and you should definitely have a subset in different departments. That's how we do it at Proof. So it's like, we have people that are technicians in specific areas and price packages and stuff like that in specific areas. But, you know, you mentioned the flexibility. To some people, that is huge. To a person like me, that flexibility, you said that, and I'm like, yes. You know, let's mention some of those other things. You could differentiate yourself on price, right? I don't like being in the middle of the pack on price. Some people might be okay with that. That might not be an issue to them. I think you should be the lowest, or somewhere toward the bottom, or somewhere toward the top. You can differentiate yourself on appearance. Like, great company in Arizona that was recently acquired,
Green
a company
Mango.
called Green Mango.
Yep.
That was their thing.
Great example.
And I sent a text to Cam this morning. I was talking about his podcast, which everybody should check out, by the way. I didn't even know he had one. That's why I was texting him, saying congrats on his podcast. But to be honest, like, people in the industry, they'd kind of like make fun of the billboards because the dude's wearing skinny jeans and like cool sunglasses, and their trucks are blacked out. And it's like, but who got the last, you know, statement with that? It's like, that's how they differentiated themselves. They did great job with radio billboard marketing. So what are some things that come to your mind when it's like, you know, we have a PCO, they're listening to us, they're either in their office or they're driving home from work, they're in their truck right now, and they're like, man, what can I do to be different? What else is there that's out there?
There are two sides of this. So one is, and you sort of spoke to this, one is your offer, like, is your service differentiated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you specialize in a specific type of pest control, whether it's residential, commercial, right? On the service side of things. The other way to differentiate yourself is through your messaging and what you're saying about what it is that you do. Meaning, most pest control companies talk about what they do the exact same way. It's a sea of sameness. And as a consumer, when I go searching for a pest control company and I try to compare 3 or 4 or 5, I feel like I'm hearing from the same pest control company because everyone
Yeah.
is using the same language. So
Well, you know what's funny is that some companies, they use like a call center or whatever, that person,
Mhm.
whoever calls in, they represent a different company, right?
Yeah. If you don't have a way to communicate your service that is differentiated, then that's another place you can start. Like, and to get even more tactical, like if you want to walk away with one thing as a means to figuring out how to differentiate yourself, go to Google in your market, type in pest control near me, pull up in a desktop on different tabs all of your biggest competitors and throw Terminix and Orkin into that fold because you know that your consumers are also considering them when they're looking at pest control companies. And then look at your website and your messaging and compare it to everyone else. And if your website and your messaging blends in with all the others, find a place in that set that is going to help you stand out and look different and sound different. And that could be about the language that you use. That could be about how you speak to a customer, right? Focusing on flexibility. That could be, like, to your point, that could be about pricing. What you don't want to do, and what I've seen from PCOs in the past is when because the first question on an onboarding call I ask a pest control company and operators, what do you do differently than your competitors? And I don't ask them what they do better. I say, what do you do differently than your competitors? And oftentimes what I hear back is, well, we're more honest. Our competition down the street is full of liars. We are more, we treat our employees well. They say a lot of things that maybe to some degree they differentiate them, but that are almost like sort of things that every single pest control company says, or at least pretends like they do. So you really got to find the thing that no one else is saying, or say it in a way that no one else is saying it. And I think pulling up your competition and comparing your site and your logo and your brand and your messaging to everyone else's is a great place to start, because it's going to smack you in the face like, oh, this is what my leads are seeing, and I'm not giving them a particularly compelling reason to choose me over my competition. So then why would they?
Small application, big impact. Advon Microfflow insect bait is your key to proactively controlling ants, cockroaches, and other pests hiding in hard-to-reach voids. Its application flexibility means you have the freedom to apply it with your preferred equipment, including bulb, bellows, and power dusters. Advon Microfflow is also ideal for complementing gel bait applications on tough cleanouts. Find out more at syngentapmp.com/Advon Microfflow.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because we can be so biased as business owners where it's like our children. I say that all the time. We look at our children and they're like, well, half the time, oh, they're perfect, blah, blah, blah. The other half, everything just seemed to be problems and complaints. But I think it'd be a good idea to have like a third party, like, hey, call somebody in your church or neighbor or something, have them look at your website and then tell you, hey, who are we after? Or what is my pest control company really good at? And I think our eyes would be open. Mine too. Like, trust me, like, something that we're working on is clarifying that messaging. And for me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, but all of like the business operations are kind of working together in this way where it's like, you have this message and you pound it over and over and over and over. You don't say it once, you say it like 10,000 times. But then you back up that message, because part of the message isn't just what you say.
Right.
Part of the message is like, what do you do?
Prove it to me.
Right? You could say, hey, we're the largest, Proof is the largest pest control company in the world. And I say that 10,000 times, and then it's like, well, that's just not true, right? Mm-hmm. So you have the message, you pound it over and over, and then you back that message up with how you act. So if you're like, hey, we take care of our personnel, there's some companies, there's a grocery store here in Idaho that they're employee owned. That's on their freaking sign, right? And so it's like, but then it's backed up because they actually are. Mm-hmm. And so let's talk about that a little bit. How do you, somebody finds this niche and they're like, hey, I am going to be, in my, geographic area, nobody is better at residential termites than I am. Like this is what I do. You have an active termite problem, we can help you. Don't go anywhere else. What does that look like in terms of messaging and then how they back that up and how those things are all incorporated together?
It's actually perfect because the question I ask immediately after I figure out what all the things that differentiate a company are is I say, cool, now prove it to me. Like, what is the evidence that you have to back up that these are areas where you are actually different? So if you say that you are the best in the world or the best in your market at residential termites, then why is that? On our team, we have, a specific type of, entomologist who has a certain number of years and experience in termites. Cool. Awesome. We have these different certifications. We actually started out as just a termite company, so we're the most established termite company in the area, right? You just start to collect all this evidence that you have that makes the promise that you made, which is we're the best termite for residential customers in the market. It's no longer hollow or empty. And that's one of the other problems that most companies have is that they say these things, and then to your point, they don't back them up, right? They don't actually live by those things. So gathering that evidence is super important. And another way to think about it is like, how can you quantify the thing that you're saying differentiates you?
Yeah.
How can you actually put numbers to the thing that you say you're the best at or that makes you different? And where can you find numbers in the business that empower that messaging? So I'll give you a creative example. We have a client, Kodiak Pest Control, out of Wyoming and Montana. It's a really fun project because in that area of the country, they're competing much less with other pest control companies, and they're actually competing with DIY because the cultural norm in that part of the country is do it yourself. Like do the work, take care of your home, like all that. And so the messaging on the website as to differentiate themselves is all about speaking to the person who is normally a DIYer. And one of the ways that we quantified the importance of, or the value that they brought as a company, was we did the math to figure out how much time are we saving these people every single year that they don't have to spend doing pest control. And instead they could be spending fishing, hunting, hiking, boating, all the things that they actually want to be doing. And I can't remember exactly what numbers we came up with, but now a lot of the messaging on their website leads with, this is how much time we're saving you every single year. I think it was something like 17 hours a year, 13 hours a year, something like that, that you can then take and then go do all the other fun stuff that you would way rather be doing than pest control around your home. So even if you just have to do like some back of the napkin math and sort of like, and be conservative about it, that is better than not backing up whatever you're trying to say differentiates you without some sort of quantitative measure.
That's such a good point. And it can be difficult, right? Like I have all these ideas going on in my head, but I'm thinking of Simon Sinek and the golden circle and the reason why we're in business in the first place. And that needs to be tied to our message. So we're not telling people what we do. We're not telling people how we do it. We're telling people why we do it. And so this company that you just gave a great example of is like, hey, we do this so that you can spend your weekends fishing, not killing the wasps or whatever, right? Whatever the pest is. And it's like, we do this so that, adding that metric, I think it does a couple of things. One, I think it opens people's eyes with whatever it is, right? The consumer's like, there could be a wow factor. Like, wow, if I'm gonna do it myself, or am I really spending that much time? And then they're like, yeah, man, that one time there was those ants and like we had to cancel the barbecue or whatever, right? So I think it's an eye opener, but then it also instant credibility.
Totally.
In my opinion, right? It's like, hey,
100%.
This guy's not just saying this. This guy has some data. And I don't have any problem with it being anecdotal, right? We're not privately or publicly traded companies. Like SEC's not going to come after us, and we shouldn't I'm not saying we make up numbers, but sometimes it's hard to pinpoint like, well, and it's going to be like an average or right.
And you can be conservative with your numbers too. Like you don't have to. You can do that math, whatever you think it is, and go, you know what? Let's cut it back by 10% just because, we
Yeah.
We haven't actually calculated this in real life, so this is just an estimate, and then just put that in your fine print. Like, look, this is how we did this calculation, to be transparent about the fact that this wasn't like some lab study that you did.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, think about it. With this example, the do-it-yourselfers, the dude, there might be a guy or a gal that, sprayed for ants 6 years ago and hasn't done a single thing since. It's like, okay, well, obviously that's not, inclusive of you specifically. But I think another cool thing about what you're saying is that, you kind of taken a step back and you were talking about like, hey, prove it to me. It's like when you start listing those reasons, it's like, man, you're creating a lot of the marketing for me, right? Hey, so why are you guys so good at residential termites in the area? Well, I mean, I was born and raised here. I've been doing pest control since I was 17 and in high school. We have 30 certified termite technicians in our office. We regularly lead the continuing education regarding termite treatment. We've been identified in this magazine, on the Bug Bucks podcast, whatever, right? And I don't think that has to be all of your marketing, but it's like a lot of people like to isolate it from the rest of the business. They like to isolate the marketing from the operations and the finances and how we're treating people and our benefits. And it's like, man, the marketing is so important because it all works together. You're sending this message out there. And by the way, you're also sending it to the people that you work for. If the quickest way, I think, honestly, the quickest way to lose really good people is to be inconsistent with your message, your marketing, and your service. Like good people, they're gonna feel like they work for like, a fake fraud company or whatever. Mm-hmm. People like to go to work at a place where they believe in what they do. They really do. That's one of the differences between Chick-fil-A and McDonald's, right? Those people are better because they believe in what they're doing. They'll treat you better because they believe in what they're doing. So tell me a little bit, as we're talking about like, hey, these are ways to differentiate yourself using your marketing and how that's relevant to the whole picture of your business.
The biggest lift that our clients have to put up with when they're onboarding with us is called our service information questionnaire. And for some clients, it can take as much as 8 hours of their time or their team's time to fill out. The service information questionnaire asks them very nuanced questions about every aspect of their service line and about their market. And we require that our clients take that kind of time to help us understand the details of their business, because that is where the differentiation lies. Most clients are not very good at telling us what differentiates them from a what matters to the customer perspective. But if I ask them to tell me about their technical process across the board, I mean, like I said, they'll spend up to 8 hours just, being able to get into the nitty gritty about how their business operates and the technical aspects and all that. So what we do is then we take all of that data that they've just given us, and that now is the Bible for our marketing team to reference anytime that we are creating marketing for them, whether it's advertising copy or website copy or landing page copy, whatever it is. We just know that we can go back to this document that they filled out for us, and that we can lean on that to extract what it is that they do and to help pull out now that we understand how they handle bed bugs and why they do it the way they do it. How can we take that and then turn it around so that the customer sees that and goes, oh, this is the thing that I understand why I care about this. This matters to me, right? It's the difference between like features and benefits. Like most pest control operators are really good at talking about features, but the customers often want to hear about the benefits. Frankly, I think as an owner, as someone doing the marketing, it would, if you can get that from your team, we require it of our clients. We tell them about it even before they onboard, because we need them to understand that that's what we need from them to do our job really well. But yeah, it's about like it bleeds into the whole business, because marketing is just there to position the company and highlight the things that are the best about the business for the market that they're going after.
Yeah, I think, marketing is so cool because you can clarify so much. So you were talking about this questionnaire, and it's like, and I'm sitting here as a PCO. These questions that I'm asking, it's like from a PCO's perspective, and it's like, man, how would we answer that? And if you gave that questionnaire to different people in the company, I bet you'd get some different answers, right? And so it's like, and that's problematic if we're talking about this messaging being consistent and using it in a way that differentiates us from other companies. If it's not throughout the entire company, and my company's in multiple states, which that's a whole new bag of issues that could come up with that. But that's a really interesting point. And marketing, I just love the subject because there's so much there that you can learn about your company. And it also, I think, creates this vision. It helps you create like, all right, so this is where we're headed. This is where we want to head as a company. And the cool thing is that you're in complete control. Like, you're in control. You just need to face the facts and be honest with yourself about like where you are, how you can back up your messaging, and what you're going to have to do to fix it. Such a cool conversation. Great topic. Andrew, tell me, if people are looking to learn more about Pesty, where do they go? How do they find you? Give us all those details.
Yeah. So Pesty, Pesty marketing.com. Definitely check us out on the website, and, give us a call, fill out a form. We're always open to, obviously having a discussion, seeing if we're the right fit to help a pest control company. We also have a YouTube channel. You just go to YouTube and look up Pesty Marketing, where we put out content that is entirely focused on growing a pest control company. We have a podcast as well, the Pesty Marketing Podcast. I appreciate the time, Allan. It was really great to jump on here and talk about, what I think is one of the most important, aspects of marketing that really flies under the radar, but can have a just massive difference if you nail it, just like Green Mango did, as we talked about.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Andrew. I know the Bug Bucks community is going to be hearing more and more about Pesty in the future, and we're looking forward to that. And, we're thankful for the relationship and the support. Make sure that you reach out to Andrew, reach out to his group there at Pesty, and see how they can help you clarify your message, help you. I know a lot of you are stuck trying to figure out like, hey, how am I different? How am I going to get this traction? Make sure to reach out to these guys. They can definitely help you with that, as Andrew's shown, expert in the area. Thanks for joining us, Andrew. Glad to have you on the show. Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, Allan.
Thank you so much for listening to the Bug Bucks podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please show your support by subscribing and leaving us an honest 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you, and we'll catch you on the next episode.